There are no rules in underground cinema, only edges. Hello everyone, and thank you for returning to the Movie Reviewers 100, a collaboration channel here on YouTube of amateur film critics such as myself. My name is Scott, also known as Cineram. I do the Thursday reviews here on this channel. We do themes every week, and this week our theme is movies about movie making. If you were to ask me who I think the best movie makers are working today, one of those names that I would give you would most certainly be David Fincher, the director, of course, of Panic Room, Zodiac, Benjamin Button, Seven, The Game, The Social Network, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. He has made a bunch of really, really good movies. He's technically quite masterful, very detail-oriented, has a great eye for actors and great taste in scripts. All around, he's just, just the perfect guy as far as his style goes and his technique. I mean, his movies always agree with me on an aesthetic level. Now, the opposite of David Fincher for me would be somebody like John Waters, a guy who basically makes all of his movies in Baltimore, Maryland. Casts a lot of the same actors in bit parts and supporting roles. And specializes in broad, raunchy comedy with very, very over-the-top performances. And technically, he is not very accomplished. He's had a pretty long career going back to the 60s, but I wouldn't say that his style has much improved in that time. It can often be very clumsy, actually, with shots inserted unnecessarily or running unnecessarily long. He doesn't have a great sense of pacing. If he tries to do an action sequence, it's often very amateurish looking and clumsy. And most of his movies I don't care for all that much. I've seen quite a lot of them, mostly out of curiosity, but I'm not a huge fan of him in general. I like him as a person, actually. I've seen him, speak, in television events and things like that. And he did a video once, which is just basically him giving a talk, basically. He's a very, very funny guy. Seems very cool to hang out with. But as a director, he's lacking quite a bit for me. Now, Cecil B. Demented is a movie that he directed in 2000, and I wanted to do this movie, actually picked this theme for the week because I wanted specifically to review this movie. And I love this movie. I adore this movie so much. And the crazy thing about it is that all of John Waters' shortcomings as a director become virtues with this movie. The story is about a filmmaker. Well, actually, the main character is a spoiled and extremely bitchy movie star named Honey Whitlock, who's played by Melanie Griffith. She's just had a premiere, basically. She's about to premiere her film in Baltimore, which is some sort of romantic drama called Some Kind of Happiness. By all accounts, we don't see any footage from the movie. By all accounts, it's extremely sappy and stilted, and no one likes it. And she is extremely pissed about having to premiere the movie in Baltimore instead of Los Angeles or New York City or something like that. She hates it in Baltimore. She thinks it's a crappy, run-down little town. She even complains about having a limousine that isn't the right color. She's like, a white limousine, huh? Do I look like Liberace's boyfriend? Do I look like a coke dealer? Do I look like I'm going to the fucking prom? And she treats everyone around her like crap, including her own staff. But at the premiere, she is kidnapped in front of the entire audience by the director known as Cecil B. Demented. Stephen Dorff plays Cecil B. Demented. He has actually disguised himself as a member of the theater staff. And as it turns out, many of the young people working on the theater staff are also in his gang of renegade filmmakers. I actually wrote down some of the dialogue, a lot of the dialogue from the movie last time I watched it. put down, an usher's job is never done. Put down the flashlight, pick up the gun. So they set off bombs, and they pull out their guns and start shooting the place up and setting it on fire, and they kidnap Honey Whitlock and they force her into the trunk of their limousine and they take off. And once they arrive at their lair, which is in this abandoned theater, this abandoned movie theater that no one's using anymore, Cecil explains to Honey that she is going to star in his new movie. He says, "We're going to make our first movie, Miss Whitlock, and nobody's going to stop us. Lots of people dream about making the movies, but success only comes to those who are willing to die for it." So they dye her hair a horrible color, and they make her wear all kinds of garish makeup and a really ugly costume, and they put her in this scene where she's supposed to be playing a cinema terrorist, someone who is sick of all the Hollywood crap, just like the filmmakers, the real filmmakers are, and vows vengeance on the Hollywood industry and is going to go out and start shooting up movie theaters and killing producers of sequels and remakes and what have you. And of course, Honey Whitlock doesn't want anything to do with this. She's just like, ask Cecil, ask all movie theaters from around the world. Hollywood makes the best movies. And it's like, wrong! Hollywood, it's evil! You're part of a system that's sucking the life out of American cinema and world cinema because Hollywood product has infected every single, culture around the world. We need to stop that right now. They're about to shoot a sequel to Forrest Gump right here in Baltimore, and we're going to stop it. So she's just like, well, this isn't going to work, you just don't have enough footage, you're not getting enough camera angles, and they're just like, shut up, Honey Whitlock, we believe technique to be nothing more than failed style. We're going to shoot one take for each shot, and you better be right or you're dead, okay? They've got guns on her like the entire time. So the funny thing is that after a while, Honey Whitlock starts to actually enjoy what she's doing. Even though she doesn't want to be there, she realizes that they're right about her career and that she's making crappy movies for who knows how long, and so she starts to actually get into the role. And so they storm into movie theaters and they complain about the price of popcorn and the fact that they're showing their director's cut of Patch Adams, and then they fire off their guns in the theater and yell out, slogans and then take off again. Meanwhile, they're all getting this on 16mm film, and it's this whole sort of guerrilla operation. At one point, Cecil says, look, we're only going to shoot one scene in the studio. We're going to go out there with real guns, and we're going to terrorize people, and we're going to force all those people that are making money off of bad Hollywood crap to be in our movie. So yeah, the crew that comprises Cecil's team basically has a lot of actors who became famous later on. Most notably Maggie Gyllenhaal. This is probably like the first movie that I saw her, and I had no idea who she was. I kept going back to this movie years later and saying, oh, I recognize that person too. Also, when I rescreened the movie yesterday, as it turns out, Michael Shannon is in this movie as well. I had no idea who he was when I first saw it. You've got Adrian Grenier, who played the lead in the television show Entourage. And Alicia Witt, she plays a former porn actress named Cherish, who's now like an actress in Cecil's movie. In case I didn't mention this already, Cecil B. Demented is a play on Cecil B. DeMille, the classic film director who specializes in huge Hollywood epics. And this whole project, I think, was partly inspired by the fact that a journalist referred to John Waters as Cecil B. Demented during one of his interviews because of his raunchy comedies. He did the original Hairspray that was later turned into a musical and then another film. But he's mostly known for movies like A Dirty Shame and Pink Flamingos, and really, really raunchy films, and a lot of underground stuff. Another piece of inspiration for this movie obviously also came from Patty Hearst, who is the granddaughter of William Randolph Hearst, the publishing titan from, I think it was the 30s or the 20s perhaps. She was kidnapped, basically, when she was a young woman and forced to participate in bank robberies. They say that she was a victim of Stockholm Syndrome, but she was still convicted of bank robbery and put in prison for 2 years. Well, John Waters kind of befriended her after she was released and ended up casting her as like a bit player in a lot of his movies. She's not a professional actress or anything like that, but he really is fond of her, I guess, and so not only does he cast her in his movies movies regularly, he sort of was inspired by her story to do this film as well, because Melanie Griffith's character, Honey Whitlock, obviously goes from being extremely reluctant to participate in what's happening in the making of the film, because she can't help it because she's being held at gunpoint. But eventually she starts to agree with Cecil and starts to relish her role as a cinema revolutionary. And of course, the other part is, of course, that people who in the audience who have been suffering through her movies are now really enjoying her new turn, her new character turn here in this thing, because they're all over the news. They're being cried by all the major studios and by the MPAA and by the film board and what have you, is saying, Honey Whitlock, you are a disgrace to Hollywood. And they're all like, yeah, Honey Whitlock's a disgrace to Hollywood, woo! Right? Here's a couple more lines that I really enjoyed. As the police surround the movie theater that they're shooting in, Cecil gets on the loudspeaker and goes, "Pay no attention to the studio executives in the police vehicles." Oh yeah, one day you'll thank me for saving you from your bad career. Yeah, she definitely does that after a while. Oh yeah, his whole crew basically is pretty young, and they've all got boyfriends or girlfriends, whatever, but Cecil has demanded that no one have sex until their movie is finished. He says, we've all taken a vow of celibacy. No one gets laid until we complete principal photography. We're horny, but our film comes first. So they're all like, Cecil, is it the last shot of the movie yet? Can we have sex yet? He's just like, not yet, we've got more shots left to do. Yeah, some of the cast members get killed by police as they're shooting, well, obviously there's shooting as in filmmaking, shooting as in firing of guns going on, yeah, the whole thing is just like, again, really kind of clumsy, and there's bad cutaways, and some of the sound effects are really obvious. There's a scene where people are like eating oysters, and so every time you see someone eating an oyster, there's this exaggerated sound, it's just like, it's very, very exaggerated and broad and over the top. But, again, it's just like, ordinarily I wouldn't like that at all, and in this case I like it a lot, because, that's all part of the whole sort of, we're going to do it our way attitude of the film. John Waters doesn't care if I don't like him as much as David Fincher. He does things his own way. He's got his own niche audience, he's got his own style, and it works for him, and that's terrific. I would be annoyed by it most of the time, and even after this movie I've seen more of his movies and I still don't like him that much as a director, but I'll always like this movie, primarily because, like I said, it's about movie making, or a certain, weird type of movie making. But not only is he making fun of big budget Hollywood, he's always also making fun of the pretensions of art cinema as well, because Cecil B. Demented is obviously an extremely pretentious person, thinking that he's sending out a message and being some sort of he probably doesn't realize that once he's captured or killed or whatever, they're just going to go back to making big Hollywood epics. Oh, and check this out. Throughout the movie they refer to a lot of fictional sequels and remakes, some of which actually got made. Lake Placid 2, that eventually was made. There's a marquee which says Scream 4, that got made. There was a Flintstone sequel that got made. Oh yeah, there's a marquee which has nothing but Star Trek and Star Wars all of it. And of course we've got new Star Wars and Star Trek movies coming out now. So that's all very prophetic, I guess, or at least extremely obvious in the sense that it's inevitable that those movies would get made anyway. One marquee says something like, what was it? Les Enfants Perdus? No, I got that wrong. I can't remember exactly what the title was, but it's like, this foreign movie has finally been dubbed into English. So everyone is just like, all the people in this movie are super mad at Hollywood. I'm just rambling now. I'm just saying. But the point is that you might not like this movie. You might think that it's stupid. You might think that it's badly acted, whatever. But I just can't help but like it. I think it's great. I think it's lots and lots of fun. And like I said, John Waters' drawbacks as a filmmaker become virtues, become attributes with this movie, just because the message is all about doing it your own way and not listening to anyone. So there's my review. It's a recommendation from me of a movie that would ordinarily be considered lousy. Yeah, and it didn't, according to Wikipedia, it didn't get that good reviews either. In fact, Roger Ebert gave it 1.5 stars. I don't know why he would do that. I mean, you know, but didn't he get the joke? It doesn't make sense. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thanks to all the guys who made great videos this week on this theme. I appreciate it. I really, really enjoy it when guys make great videos for themes that I come up with. And we've got a new theme starting tomorrow, so please tune in for that. And I'm planning on doing, despite the theme, another Melanie Griffith movie next week. Despite the fact that neither this week or next week theme has been Melanie Griffith. So thanks very much for watching. Appreciate it. I'll see you again soon. Bye.